everyone again. Welcome to our webinar, 10 Reasons to Work with Quick Minds in the New Ukrainian School. My name is Anni Šovkалюк and I am a Cambridge University Press ELT consultant in Ukraine. Today we're talking about quick minds in the New Ukrainian School and why we should work with it, starting from next year. If you can hear me well, if you can see me well, please type yes in the chat box. People are typing yes. Just a reminder, make sure you're typing your answers in the chat box, okay? Yes, I see that you can hear me and you can see me. So we're going to start talking about the New Ukrainian School and quick minds. First of all, I'd like to ask you, what associations you have with the New Ukrainian School? We've been talking about it for a long time. The media, the ministry, the teachers, parents, everyone's very excited, I hope, and very interested, maybe are anticipating it a bit. So I want to ask you what your associations with the New Ukrainian School are. What is the New Ukrainian School about? Type your answers in the chat box. Life. The New Ukrainian School is about changes. Collaborative work, that's a very nice idea. Learning to learn, yes. Collect children and competencies. Mix of studying and global minds, that is also true. Independency, new ideas, new lessons, new impressions, yes. Oh, and the new approach. Thank you very much. Yes, I agree with all your comments about the New Ukrainian School, and believe that it's also about the children expressing themselves and all the participants, we mean school, the teacher, the parents, working together and collaborating, not just children during the lesson with each other, with the teacher, but also all the parts. Yes, and the teachers have to develop and to change, as well as the approach, as well as lots of other things. And it's about developing the child of the 21st century. And I think the next question which comes to our mind is, what does that child of the 21st century look like? What is the child of the 21st century? Can you type your answers in the chat box describing the child of the 21st century? Smart, creative, an active child, yes. Digital, yes, they are flexible. Kind, that's interesting, yes. Smart and flexible, creative, yes. Challenging, interesting. Yes, lots of teachers and participants who think that a child should be smart. I agree. And besides that, we also believe that the child of the 21st century should be able to say what he thinks and feels and not be afraid to do that. He'd learn how to be proactive and how to work with others and develop skills and further the knowledge. The last point here, developing skills and furthering the knowledge, sometimes brings me and other teachers to discuss and sometimes even to debate that we have knowledge, we have skills, which is more important, which is harder to develop, and so on and so forth. So we have the era of the information, which is very accessible, easily accessible, any kind of source, and we believe that information is not as valuable as it used to be, say, 10, 15 years ago. And knowledge does not necessarily mean being able to do something, skills. In order to prepare our children for the future, we need to teach them a wide range of skills, starting from the very beginning. And also what the New Ukrainian School promotes and has in its policy and concept. Developing the skills and of course furthering the knowledge. We have studied the new standard for education, and you can see that the English language, foreign language education is about being able to communicate with others, with other representatives from different countries, different cultures. Therefore, and this will bring them to be able to further their skills in life and to get further education. Therefore, when the new standard was being created and was at the point of confirmation, the Ministry of Education launched the pilot project, the experiment, a year ago, almost a year ago, piloting the new standard and the new materials and the new approach to teaching and to teacher development. And we are proud to say that we were active participants involved into the pilot project from the very beginning. We are still working in it together with our partners, such as British Council and Cambridge Assessment English, the Goethe Institute and the Ambassade de France are taking care of the German and the French language pilots. And at the moment, we're very proud to say that we've been able to work with and to supply 105 schools all across Ukraine with books. This means that more than 6,000 pupils are working with our books now. More than 300 teachers, including German and French, are also in the project, and they have done teacher development trainings and online modules and courses as well. The school year is not finished yet. We still have certain steps to take, and one of the books that was piloted before we decided to submit it for the government tender and for the competition in the spring. So the key stages of the pilot project were, at the first stage, back in August 2017, the British Council jointly with Cambridge City Press and Cambridge Assessment English ran a 5-day face-to-face training for the pilot project school teachers and provided schools with materials. Every pupil, every student received the pupil's book and activity book. The teachers received the full pack, including teachers' books, flashcards, audio CDs. And then we stayed constantly in touch with the teachers starting from September, asking them how it's going, what they like, what they don't like, with changes to pilot materials based on the feedback we received from the teachers and participants of the project as well. Stage 3, back in autumn 2017, Cambridge University Press and Cambridge Assessment provided teachers the pilot project schools. Every teacher was provided with a 20-hour online training course on our platform, Cambridge LMS. The training course was about teaching primary learners communicatively, and they received a certificate at the end. The fourth stage was in January this year. We again with the pilot project teachers, and we had a face-to-face training in Villa Terqua with British Council trainers as well. This was also an opportunity for us to communicate, to ask them and to see the progress. Stage is still underway. We're still visiting schools, conducting lesson observations with the aim of helping teachers and collecting data. We are also listening to teachers, parents, children, administration, and taking into consideration their experience in this. Stage 6 is still to be completed, the June face-to-face training provided by the British Council. This is going to be the time for us to make conclusions and to say thank you to everyone for doing hard work. And it is really amazing that our book was piloted in Ukraine for the whole academic year, and we are able to have and to collect the feedback from the teachers. we've worked hard, and before submitting Quick Minds and showing it to everyone in the spring, we incorporated lots of new things and worked on making it suitable for Ukrainian market. Therefore, 10 reasons to work with Quick Minds is probably the reason why we're here. And also, this is because we have submitted the book for the government tender for the first grade in the new Ukrainian school. At the moment, we've passed the first stage, receiving the expert evaluation and the person to participate in the voting process. Second stage of this is going to be teachers selecting the book in their schools for the next year. The book that is going to be provided by the government for free in their libraries. I'm sure that we have lots of teachers from schools here, and you are probably familiar with the process of selecting books for your libraries, and these books are going to be used for 5 years. So when you select the book this spring, and the voting will begin in May, on May 14th, okay, which is next Monday. So when you have a voting in your schools, you will be offered a selection of 9 books that have been approved. 18, I see Lilia texting 18. May 18th, this is the end of the voting. The schools will have a week next week, basically, vote for the book they're going to work with in the new Ukrainian school first grade. So when you are offered next week to select the book, we hope that you will choose to work with quality material from Cambridge. We've been asked many times, why Quick Minds? Is it the same as Super Minds? Quick Minds is the daughter or the son of Super Minds, a very popular title that has been used by many teachers in Ukraine and in the world. Super Minds is famous for its approach to the child, a gradual approach, a whole child approach. Therefore, we have taken Super Minds and we have taken Quick Minds, which is the adapted version. We looked at the needs and reality in our Ukrainian schools, and we adapted it further. So Quick Minds is an adaptation of Super Minds. The author team is still the same. The star authors, Herbert Puchta, Gunnar Gross, and Peter Lewis-Jones, those famous psychologists, body researchers, and linguists that have worked very hard to make it working for kids and teachers all over the world. Our adaptation focuses on the learners and the teachers working in Ukrainian schools. So we're going to start with the reason number 1, why we should work with it in the new Ukrainian school, and this is the structure. Lots of teachers, busy teachers, lots of work, they need a book that is easy to use. Therefore, our book is easy to navigate and to see and to find the material that you need. It consists of an introductory unit, 8 core units, review pages, and sections, culture sections, and letters. The sections are what makes Quick Minds for Ukraine. We've introduced into the introductory units the ICANN sections, culture sections, and letters. Will it be free for the pupils? If you vote the government, it will be supplied to your schools for free. The pupils' book and the audio CD. I'm going to talk about it as well in the next slides. The navigation is important as the teacher, the parents, the kids, everyone needs to see what they have. You have to make your own plans. By the way, we will have the thematic planning ready for you and free of charge. And the content section is focused around skills and what your pupil will be able to do. If we see the introduction part, we have the introductory unit, which is also according to our new Ukrainian school standards, with such things to work with at the very beginning. Hello and goodbye, 1, 2, 3 in the jungle, the counting, songs and games, colors, as well. So we gradually introduce the basic terms to our kids in the introductory unit. All the units feature story, values, thinking skills, vocabulary, grammar, of course, and letters. However, as we all know, the vocabulary and the grammar are not the primary focus of the new Ukrainian school program. It's not a primary focus of the English in the first year of studying. Therefore, it's there, but it's studied through other activities with kids. I'm being asked about the activity book and the workbook. The activity book will be available for teachers to purchase for students as well. The government tender means the pupils book, which is enough for you to use for the whole school year. We're not going to be supplying half of the book or part of the book. We're going to be supplying the full book, which is enough. But the workbook is going to be printed specifically for Ukrainian teachers, and if you are willing to purchase it, we will have the information for you ready in a short time. Now I'm going to talk to you about the structure of the unit, as it is also important for the teacher to get to the book, the students to get used to a certain routine. As kids at this age like a routine, they get used to certain things repeated from time to time, and they are trained to learn this way. So the first lesson always starts with new language introduced with the help of super friends. Quick Minds has 4 super friends that go along with our children through all the units and all the language materials introduced actually by the super friends, not by the teacher. This is also a technique we use in the book, as kids love to associate themselves and to have certain associations with words they hear and words they learn. Therefore, the super friends introduce the new language through exciting stories and situations. Usually it's done through the listening or a chant or a song. Kids practice the new words together. And then in the second lesson, the new language is further practiced and more language is introduced through listening and activities. Learning through the process is very important, as kids at the age remember the material if they are involved in it, if they're active participants, and making sure that they're active and involved for the whole lesson. With the gradual approach to introducing the language, we call it scaffolding. So scaffolding is basically building bricks as you are building the house from the very bottom. Therefore, we're not pouring lots of material onto our students at the very beginning. We're doing it gradually, recycling, revising, and putting more bricks on the top. Lesson 3 is going to be always about consolidation of what you've learned previously in the previous 2 pages, and you do it through a song or a chant. It's not just about singing a song, learning a song, learning to sing a song. It's about listening to a song several times, and then you are singing a song, and then you are offered another activity based on the song. This helps us to, of course, to make learning more enjoyable and to internalize and to help students get more practice. When will we start? We have a question. When will we start to learn sounds and letters? This is a very good question. And the sounds and letters are present in the book. I'm going to show them to you, the pages from the sounds and letters parts. And we I'm going to talk about our version of how they should be introduced and they should be worked with. However, the program and the principles of teaching English in the primary school from the first year, from the first month, tell us that learners have to be exposed to lots of listening and imitation, repeating all the time. And this is the natural way of them to learn English. I'm going to talk about the natural way of how children learn languages a bit later. However, learning sounds and letters happens gradually all the time and is integrated in the book as well. 4 is we provide further language introduction and meaningful practice. 8, for example, on the page you have the listening activity where they match the pictures, and then we have the grammar focus, which is always done implicitly, not explicitly. Implicitly means that we don't explain grammar rules, we use the grammar in context. And the context is usually life and something that is relevant to the kids of this age. Therefore, this way we make sure that kids remember material and understand material without applying much logic and effort into the process. And the more times they are exposed to this material, to this language, the more times they repeat, the better they remember and the better they are able to reproduce it in the future. Lesson 5 is about a story. The story goes on, actually it is lesson 5 and 6, and the story also features our super friends, and it always teaches values and consolidates material that we've learned in the previous lessons. So as you see, it's a cycle. We learn the material, we practice, consolidate, learn, practice, consolidate. And it's about teaching values, which is also one of the very important parts in the new program and the new Ukrainian school concept. In this page, the example here is the value of helping each other. The story is about the super friends who get into a situation where they have to help one of their peers. Lesson 6 teaches the story and teaches values. There's always a thinking task that is following the story. The basic thinking skills are, of course, covered in the book, and this is part of the curriculum. And the phonics section is when we start to gradually introduce the sound letter combination and connection to our students. Again, this is done through engaging images and interesting phrases, and something that catches our students' attention and makes them remember it better. We believe that when learners see bright and vivid characters and interesting images and hear the sounds, they are engaged emotionally, and emotions is what help our learners to remember the material better. Even us, we adults, when we try to remember something from the past, the brightest memories are always some memory that is connected with emotions. When we think about our school years, probably the brightest moments and the things we can remember best are connected with some strong emotions we experienced. This is how the brain works, and our author team has been working on the psycholinguistics and brain research a lot, and they've taken into consideration a very thorough research on how children learn languages and happens in their brain at the age of 6 and 7 years. The age in the next lesson is what we call PIL, Clear Content and Language Integrated Learning. And in this case, an example here shows you a lesson on art, which is very nicely connected with colors that children are supposed to learn in the first year in school. Then the next lesson goes on working with the CLIL, with integrated curriculum, and always finishes with project work. Integrated CLIL, integrated learning, is what we have in the new Ukrainian School program now, and these are called інтегровані змістові лінії. Therefore, we are proud to say that we've always had it in our books, and we're very happy that at the moment teachers will start working in the school. Yes, CLIL at so early age, and that's fantastic. CLIL can be done at any age as long as it's age appropriate, and this is our very important message here. Everything that is given to students, to pupils at this age, should be age appropriate, and we've carefully worked on that, of course. Project work is what contributes to learners not being able to express themselves. It teaches them to work together. As project work, it can be done individually and can be done in groups or pairs, and we encourage them often to work together and to create something together. When we work together, we create something together. We show it to everyone, and we receive positive feedback and appraisal, believing in ourselves better. This is our message here, and this is also something that we are proud of. Sections. This is what's been added in order to cater to the Ukrainian curriculum. We have the pages on culture to every unit at the end of the book. There are various topics covered, such as colors around Ukraine, birthday, animals in Ukraine, holidays in Ukraine, and so on and so forth. It's all been done, again, in an interactive way to make sure kids are engaged, and it is connected with the material studied throughout the book and in the units. This is a letters section at the end of the book. This is when we take a gradual approach to literacy. Literacy is a very controversial question, and we know that lots of teachers debate on when to start teaching kids letters and when to start writing and reading. What we know for sure, and what we strongly recommend to all the teachers working in the first grade, is to teach letters gradually and start at least a month or two after the beginning of the school year, possibly in the second half of the year. This is also the official recommendation from the Ministry of Education. We start writing and reading not from the beginning. Speaking and listening is there to begin with, and we'll tell you why. And then we take letters gradually further. We also added the attend section. This is self-evaluation and monitoring, the important part in the first grade program, as we don't have tests in the first grade. We have self-evaluation where students can see what they have achieved at the end of every unit. This is not only for the kids, this is for the teacher, this is a kind of an evaluation, this is a kind of assessment, informally, which we can do in the first grade. And informal assessment is actually teacher observing her students every lesson, and then making sure they understand what they have learned and achieved, even at this early stage. And it's also a very good way of showing parents what you've been doing and what you have achieved with your kids. So the first reason was structure, and we've covered the structure of the book, the content section, and the sample unit and the sections at the end which go with it. The second reason why is real-life communication. That every language that we introduce in the classroom should be relevant to students, should be personalized and internalized. It should relate to real-life situations. And we know our kids are smart, and you have written this word at the very beginning so many times, and I agree with you. Our kids are very smart. They understand that they are learning a structure that they can go and use right here and right now, they will understand why, and they'll see the reason and the usefulness of it. Therefore, one example here, at the end of a lesson, at the end of a page, your kids will be offered, they will be offered to talk to each other and to ask and answer some basic questions about themselves. The other option here is when you are learning I've got, I haven't got, you might talk about your own lunch. You're learning some words that are related to food, and then your kids are offered to make their own lunch. This could be extended into whole project work, when your kids bring some food into the classroom and they make their own lunch, and then you eat it together at the end of the lesson, or you can ask them to draw the food and put it into the lunchbox. Another option here is to draw your own basket and to imagine what's inside of this basket, imagining you're going on a picnic. Real life, asking them to bring a basket, or maybe to put something they imagine into a basket. Variations and lots of extensions you can do with our book as well. It is quite flexible. You can use all the sections. You can maybe use the main content only, and then others if you have enough time and if you have the class small enough for more project work and more group work. The third reason is, as I have already mentioned, emphasis on listening and speaking, which is very important at the very beginning. When kids come to school, they know only one language, their own, yes, mother tongue. And the way kids learned their mother tongue was by listening to their parents. They listened to their parents for a long time, sometimes up to a year, and then they started producing their first words. And this way, they are used to discovering new features of the language and new structures. This is the natural way for them to learn a language from the very first day they were born. The same approach is taken when we use speaking and listening as the very first thing in the classroom, and we call it the natural language acquisition. Kids listen, kids repeat, you imitate, and then you try to play with the language. This is very important. This is the recommendation of the Ministry of Education, to start your school year in the first grade with the listening and speaking. We call it устный вводный курс as well. I hear teachers call it sometimes like that, which is also the same thing as I have mentioned. And repeat quite easily. They like imitating, they like repeating, and they do it very well. And therefore, we believe that this is going to be an easy way, a natural way for them to start and to make their first steps in learning English. You are I'm showing you the examples where they have to listen and tick in their notebooks. We have also introduced the signs, the little markers of where they have to write in their notebooks. And the books will be purchased into the school libraries, and this way kids will not be able to write in the book. Therefore, we ask them to write in their notebook. And also grammar, any kind of a grammar structure is introduced through listening. You have to listen and say, to listen and point, to listen and repeat, of course. Therefore, this is all quite natural for them, as I have already said. The fourth reason is, of course, the book has been adapted to the new standard and the curriculum. We received lots of questions on Facebook. What is the adaptation? Whether it's a good thing or no? We believe it is a good thing. We have to cater to our own needs, and Cambridge cannot allow itself to impose any international rules and regulations. Therefore, the national curriculum for the primary school was taken into consideration, and you can see all the key changes we've made to the book. Of course, we have aligned the language, grammar, and vocabulary to the program, and all the instructions have been translated into Ukrainian. We have the English ones, but we also have the Ukrainian ones. This is also good because parents are able to help their kids do their some language work at home, as we know that in primary school we don't have homework with kids. Therefore, everything we do in class can be then recycled at home if you wish. Class sections. This is a part of our introductory unit at the very beginning of the book. This makes sure that your kids understand you when you speak English. Classroom instructions are introduced also gradually, partly, bits by bits. We teach them to stand up, to sit down, to raise their hands, and so on and so forth. And then we revise it several times, which is also important for our kids. Numbers are also introduced at the very beginning gradually, from 1 to 5, then 6 to 10, then altogether 1 to 10 in the next pages. We constantly come back to the material we've been learning, and this makes sure that kids revise what they've already learned, and they build on the new material, the scaffolding I mentioned. Learning English with superheroes is another reason we should work with quick minds, as we believe that every child is a superhero. And we have 4 superheroes, as I have mentioned, super friends. Each super friend has a superpower, and kids are introduced to them from the very beginning gradually. They understand their superpowers with time, and we also have found out that every kid picks his or her own favorite character, and this way it's again that emotional engagement I have mentioned. This makes kids want to open the book, want to come back to the material. When they see the heroes, they are excited. They will know it's going to be a story or a new material now, and they study all together. They associate themselves with the heroes well, and they have own characters. This is like the cartoons as well. If you ask a kid what's his or her favorite cartoon is, he will surely tell you. You can ask him what's his favorite character, and he will tell you as well. Same thing here. We have superheroes as friends and as people who as characters that guide them through the language. Storytelling. Coming back to what I've been telling about kids learning their first language, we all tell our kids stories at night, fairy tales. This is the way, again, very natural one, the way kids discover the world and understand how the world works. A story in English is a challenge, but it's an interesting challenge. Again, combining all the factors of the superheroes and animations and the audio that goes with it. Kids learn the social values, which are a very important part now of the new Ukrainian school concept, through story and through their characters solving different problems. And this is the example of the story I showed you. This is the value of helping each other, and they discover a certain problem and solve it together. Reason 7, 20th century skills. This is the very important part of the national curriculum, the new Ukrainian School. And this concept has been discussed very widely with many teachers and students over. So 21st century skills include communication, collaboration, creativity, think skills, learning to learn, and not only, there are more. However, the first year of studying includes the basic 21st century skills, and the book also includes those. Creativity is developed through such tasks as listen and imagine, and then draw your picture. Of course, not just drawing. They are then asked to describe, to show to each other, and to describe, say what they have drawn. Then we also have the thinking skills tasks, which always follow the story. And these are the basic thinking skills that we can develop at this early stage with our students. Such questions as, do you like bananas? Do you like the sweater? These are also basic thinking skills we can start developing with our students, as they have to think, to analyze, to have some basic, to make some basic conclusions and to express themselves.